SaveWithConrad.com.
My name is Catherine West from Visalia, California. And for many years, my husband has listened to the podcasts. And so every time I am stressed about anything, he has said, well, we need to call Save with Conrad. We ended up in a situation where we thought this would be helpful for us. So we were struggling with some credit card debt that we had. We knew that we had some equity in our house that we could possibly access to get some cash out and refinance, consolidate some of those things. And so we were able to do that with this latest refinance that we did. It saves us so much on interest and really helps us out financially. Plus, we have a little left over to be able to do a few things around the house that we wanted to. And the money that we were paying into those things, we can hopefully start saving now. In that alone, we'll save $1,400 a month. And it didn't change our house payment, maybe even like $50 less. I feel like we're far away in terms of like the United States, but I don't feel that far away from you guys. I always feel like you're a phone call away, you're an email away, and always like available to me. Diane Raver is who we worked with. And every time I needed her, I was able to reach out and contact her. And she was always getting right back to me. I felt heard. I called with real concerns. And I really just needed some help and to figure out how to make this work. I never felt like I was getting this because you just wanted business. Like I felt like you genuinely care about what I need and you heard what I needed. And then you found a way to make that happen. And so I recommend you guys wholeheartedly. I feel like you'll be honest and helpful. And feeling heard is just what every person wants to have done when it's in a situation like this. My name is Catherine West, and I saved over $1,400 a month with SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Oh, Conrad Thompson, Slappy New Year. Happy New Year, man. It's feels like we hadn't done one of these in a while, but been busy winning fantasy football championships, making announcements, doing some contract finalizing some contracts. 2025 is off to the races. Got a little bug, so if I'm a little nasally today, my world listeners, that's all right. I'll pull through here. Conrad always gives me some motivation, and I'm sure old Waffle Stomp and Dave Silva will probably go shirtless here in a little while, and that'll pull me through the last half hour. But all good, man. Excited to do this. I cannot believe this is the topic today, but we'll get there in a minute. But Slappy New Year, pal. How are you?
I'm excited to be here with you, Jeff. Happy 2025. I can't believe we are doing another year of My World. Thank you guys for joining us. We've got a lot to talk about with the current wrestling landscape, but our topic today is Nitro from 25 years ago. This is the night where Jeff Jarrett wrestled not one, not two, but three legends on the very same show. And man, he was a little worse for wear in an accident that most people don't even know really happened. We're going to talk about it in long form today, and we're going to be doing a watch along. We want you to join with us. I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to watch on Peacock, but it's there now. It's Monday Nitro from January 10th, 2000, as they call it over in Peacock land. That's season 6, episode 2. Jeff, there's been some discussion. There's a little bit, every day I get a DM or a message. What's going to happen to these archives? They're all going to go away. We're going to lose them. Guys, Peacock's a loser. It's always been a loser. They're not going to keep throwing good money after bad. They're probably cut their losses. They've already made it known, Jeff, that they're shopping for a new deal. These archives are going to land somewhere. They've realized you can make money with this. It's not like they're just going to scratch that line item off. Like, that's not a thing. The archives will land somewhere, Jeff. Don't you agree?
Yeah, and you know what? And maybe I am way in the minority, but my gut told me, but years ago, working at WWE and kind of looking at the numbers, the early days of the WWE network, you would think that the libraries, specifically the territory libraries, would get heavy views. I think the real reality is it is a small but very vocal audience that wants their archives. They want they want the ability, and I'm glad they do, especially today's episode. We get to go back and watch Superfly jump off on my ass like a bag of contract. But yeah, the archives, I just can't imagine all the much ado about nothing. There will be a place in the world of technology that we have today. Of course, you're going to be able to see this. So it'll be packaged up and, you know, YouTube. What was I just watching? Oh my gosh, me and Cody were just watching. A USWA. And there's a good follow on Twitter. But anyway, yeah, the content's going to be there, pal. Let me ask you this. Are you a big archive watcher, Conrad?
I am. Yeah. I mean, obviously we do it a lot on our podcast network. And I mean, even when I just have some free time, I'll say, man, I really want to watch, and then just throw on something random. It might be the 1990 Royal Rumble, you know, who knows what it'll be, but I'll be watching something randomly, or I'll have a discussion with a friend or something, and let me see if I can find that. So yeah, we all use it for that as a resource. I've gotten used to that $10 or whatever it is coming out of my account from Peacock. So wherever it lands with WWE, they'll get my $10 there too. But we want you to watch along with us. It's season 6, episode 2 of Monday Nitro. That's January 10th, 2000. That's season 6, episode 2 on Peacock. January 10th, 2000, Nitro, season 6, episode 2, Jeff.
And speaking of streaming, the buzz that came about over, I guess you could say, what's today as we're recording this, January 6th. So yeah, starting last week, all the buzz about Max and season 1 of Dynamite and all around the world. I thought that was pretty cool just to kind of see, man, the flag is in the ground. The streaming era, would you say that, I can't say it's peaked, but it's gone to another level.
Well, let me ask you this, Jeff. I saw somebody say something the other day, and it made me do a double take. And I thought about it for a minute, and the more I think about it, the more I think he's right. You know, we saw on Christmas Day the NFL on Netflix.
We did.
And it was hugely successful. I read somewhere like 1 out of every 3 Netflix subscribers was watching that game.
Wow.
So that tells you that's the future, because that's a global company. I mean, that is a big deal.
Yep.
And it does feel like what I'm about to say might actually be true. But I saw someone online, and I forget who said it. If I find it, I'll retweet it and give you credit, because I thought, wow, is that right? It might actually be. The speculation was, Jeff, that this contract that AEW just revealed, their new contract with Warner Brothers Discovery, that it might be the last major wrestling contract signed for broadcast television. That after this, it'll just be streaming. And I once upon a time, I would have said, well, there's no fucking way. They're making way too much money on TV. There's just no way. But I see the success of Jake Paul and Mike Tyson on Netflix. Then I see the success of the NFL on Christmas Day on Netflix. And I say, yeah, we're probably not that far away from college football games being on apps, from wrestling being on apps. Like, I mean, with AEW on Max last week, I couldn't wait to just try and see, hey, how does it look compared to my television feed? I use YouTube TV. I felt like it was a better, higher quality video stream from Max. I felt like it was a little more HD, if that's the right word, a little more high def. So I wanted to know, you're a sort of a wrestling business junkie. Do you think that might be true, that AEW may have signed the last major television contract in wrestling?
Of course, my gut reaction right now is not only no, but hell no. But, Lord, I've been wrong so many different times. Just the fact that is cable television, and you hear different folks, and is cable TV going away? And my gut says no. I think they're both, the bundle and the sports networks and that whole big sports bundle that's being put together right now. Oh boy, kind of, that is we could probably sit here, if I was in your office, you were in mine, we could probably come up with 10 reasons why it wouldn't and 10 reasons why it would. I just think there would be a argument made for both sides. The good thing, and this is one of the real bare basics, Charlotte, Saturday night, Conrad, I got to see some old friends, not just Ricky and Robert, but, Charlotte's one of those wrestling towns, and different folks stopped by and all this. And I was just talking to a guy, that's where they held the matches. It was every other Tuesday. It was their big house show. And at the end of the day, just how professional wrestling, as it's rolled along, once TV came along, however long, back 50s, it's inexpensive programming. That's where I'm going with it, that rates. And so as long as there's cable television, there's going to be professional wrestling on it, would be my gut. Now the deal structure may be different, Connie. And maybe streaming first or simulcast like we're doing. I don't know, but I believe as long as there is network and cable television, professional wrestling is going to be out there because of just the sheer numbers on both sides, expense versus the numbers that it gets.
I for one am interested to see what happens with the next round of television negotiations and what that next contract might look like. But we heard last week in a loud and clear voice on Dynamite, you've signed what you called your last in-ring contract. Congratulations, Mr. Jarrett.
About that, Connie.
All Elite, going to keep going. I mean, do we want to disclose? I mean, is this a 1-year deal to wrestle? Is this a 10-year deal to wrestle? Is this a lifetime? Because I was thinking, did he get that? Undertaker no-showed me at StarCast once, and it was written a few days later that he had signed a lifetime contract with WWE, and I didn't know what the hell that meant. Did you sign a lot? Is that the workaround here? Like, it is my last contract, but it's lifetime.
Oh, Connie, you're digging. You know what? The whole, it's interesting how things, I don't even know where to jump off, Conrad, because
let's just call Barry Bloom in. Barry, jump on here with us. We appreciate you negotiating. I know that,
don't put Barry in the middle of that. He did.
No. The rumor and innuendo is Barry got you $12 million a match at 300 matches a year. You're going to, just like your WCW deal, you want all the house shows, all the live appearances.
Here we go.
I mean, I've been told that you're now a member of the 3 Comma Club. So I just want to congratulate billionaire Jeff Jarrett on his landmark richest deal in pro wrestling history.
You're nonsense. Conrad, I'll just leave it at this. I am very grateful. Me and you both know, prior to the pandemic, conversations going on about the pod and all that kind of stuff. I mean, going back to the very first StarCast, I didn't have wrestling kind of on my, what do they call it, the bingo card, but all the conversations that had taken place, not just between me and my family, including not just Karen, the girls as well, and of course Cody, but kind of my wrestling family, Sanjay, Jay. Got to throw Satnam in there. But then I have had a lot of conversations. I'll say this. I've kind of learned this. I've learned this through the years, trying to be a little bit wiser. I've had different conversations with, I'll call them wrestling luminaries and legends and people that I really respect, both inside of AEW and outside, about, man, what should my next steps really be? I threw it out there to just about every conversation. Do I keep going? Do I hang it up? Do I head strictly 100% down the business path? And it kind of was a collective deal because my first gut was, okay, I'm going to re-sign wrestling. Let's go after, let's will something into existence. And I told Jay, I said, Jay, let's go after tag team gold. And then, he was like, Satnam is the true 1 in a billion here. Let's kind of look at trios gold. And so we had that conversation as well. And then Jay was the first one, but there were a couple of different individual conversations I had, and they just went back to said different ways. And that's what the promo was really based on. High risk, high reward. And when I kind of looked at that, so many memories came back through my mind. My dad used to tell me that his grandfather wasn't his really mentor in business, but mentor in life. His father, anyway, we won't get into all that, but he always said, son, if you're going to climb a tree, don't get under the tree and figure out how you can climb up to the first branch, then the second branch, and the third branch. Get back way away from the tree and figure out how you can climb to the very top. And at the very least, you're probably going to get at least halfway up there. And so using that analogy and kind of thinking it through, and again, I'm going to lean into Jay on this. Jay, among others, there's a former world champion, I'll leave it at that, who told me, Jeff, are you kidding me? Go out swinging. You don't have any aspirations of having some year, 6 months, 3-month run. Just go for it all. Just, I don't know, give it a shot. And so when I kind of looked at that and the contract negotiations kind of got finalized, and I said, okay, the whole premise of the promo was I'm going for the world title, and all the contract stuff came in, and it felt like there was as much buzz about the contract stuff as opposed to going for the world title. But Conrad, I'm just going to say this: you've willed it into existence. You always joke about it, but no, I'm going to do either I'm going to die trying or I'm going for it all. So I am really excited at this stage of my career, Conrad. You know, literally better than anybody. And I told that to my lawyer, Phil. I said, you know, this is a strategy. And he said, what do you think? I said, well, I really can't wait to run this by Conrad because I think his jaw will drop. So that's it, pal. I'm excited. I really am excited for 2025.
I'm pumped, man. I've been on that train from the very beginning. You know, as soon as you signed with AEW, I put Kenny Omega at nothing happening, Okada. I mean, Bryan Danielson, you ran his ass out of town on a rail. You know, I mean, he didn't want the smoke. He retired. And here you are still plugging along, still going for gold. And what a great promo we heard the other night on Dynamite. If you missed it, take a listen.
As a 12-time World Heavyweight Champion, 2-time Hall of Famer, I have to ask myself, should the last Outlaw just ride off into the sunset? And the answer is hell no. All right. Because the thought that keeps going through my mind is, Jeff, when you've taken the biggest risk of your life, you've got the biggest reward. So I'm here to announce I signed my very last professional wrestling talent contract. I re-signed with AEW. Because the last Outlaw wants one more ride. And I'm not just talking about any ride. The last Outlaw wants AEW Gold. And I'm not talking trios title. I'm not talking tag title. I'm talking about taking the biggest risk of my career. And hell yeah, I could fall flat on my face. Hell, next week there's a gauntlet, put my ass in it. Because I'm here to say, January 1st, 2025, the last Outlaw, his New Year's resolution is that I want to become the AEW World Heavyweight Champion.
How about it? I'm a big fan, dude. I'm so happy that you're back and that you're going to keep doing your thing. And I'm excited for you to have that big gold belt wrapped around your waist. I mean, we see as we do this show every week, the OG big gold behind you, the NWA world title. I think we get rid of the Macho Man's belt over there over one of your shoulders and throw the AEW world title in there.
Is that the Macho Man's belt in your mind, Macho?
I mean, who do you relate the Intercontinental title to?
Oh, man, I would have to. That's a good question. Geez, that's in a lot of ways perfect in Bret.
I thought you being a guitar man, you'd have said Honky Tonk Man, the world's greatest Intercontinental champion of all time.
There you go. Okay, Mach is up there. Sean in a lot of ways too. That was
yeah, Sean and Bret and Mr. Perfect.
Yep.
Even for some reason, the British Bulldog and Kerry Von Erich, those are the guys I kind of think about as being the guy.
Yep.
But I feel like Macho Man was the first guy who showed the pattern. Hey, you can have the workers belt,
bingo,
the Intercontinental champion, and then you can become the world champion. And I know in the NWA sometimes we'd see guys Like I think Flair was the Missouri champ and then the U.S. champ and then the world champ. And I think the U.S. championship was always supposed to be like the number one contender. We didn't really see that much with the Intercontinental title, except for Randy Savage. And that started a new trend for all those guys I just rattled off.
Interesting.
Well, I'll tell you what, the new trend in 2025 is seeing how hard you can get your ding dong. Shall we? Let's try Blue Chew. Let's have some better sex with Blue Chew. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets. These erection enhancing tablets help men achieve stronger, harder, and longer lasting erection for what Jeff Jarrett calls sexual activities. And Blue Chew is putting its money where its mouth is and offering you a free month. And the process is simple. You just sign up at bluechew.com. You consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you're going to get your gimmicks in a few days. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door. Take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. And the best part is it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversation, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Make life a little easier by getting harder and discover your options at bluechew.com. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free. That's right. Try your first month of Blue Chew free when you visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. So, Jeff, there's a lot to talk about, but we've also got an episode of Nitro to watch. I do want to mention that you got right on your winning ways. You did that in-ring promo on Wednesday, and then over the weekend on Collision, we saw you pick up a win over Aaron Solo, who, well, you sent home with a guitar necklace at the most recent AEW pay-per-view at Hammerstein Ballroom. But the promo that happened after the match, that's worth a listen. Take a listen.
Yeah, you can say that. You can say that over and over and over. Making history again. Wednesday night, Asheville, Fight for the Fallen. The first ever mother of all simulcast on Max. Tonight here at a Collision. Another first. Another making history. Another simulcast on Max. And now I'm headed to Dynamite, right in my backyard. My family has been promoting professional wrestling in Clarksville, Tennessee, just about an hour outside of Nashville, since the 1960s. Matter of fact, I had some of my very first matches, Clarksville Northwest, Clarksville Northeast High School, and now I'm getting the opportunity to, shall I say, come back home, and this is going to be truly step one. I pray to make history. Getting in that gauntlet, man, oh man, I hope my number is called, because if it is, I've always said, what's lucky? What's the definition of luck? When preparation meets opportunity. And I can assure you one thing, I'm prepared. I just need the opportunity to march toward my New Year's resolution, which is AEW gold. Not just any gold, the world title gold.
Man, I love that promo. I got goosebumps. I'm ready for it. I'm here for it.
Y'all ready. Y'all got the Dynamite promo. You got man, on top of it. Slappy New Year 2025. We're off to the races.
I mean, I guess the real question is, you going to kick John Moxley's ass, or do you have somebody in mind?
Whoever is going to have the world title when I achieve, it's going to be a climb up a mountain. There's no doubt. And look, you just God, look at the roster, Conrad, and I know. There's a lot of folks that want the world title. I'll just say that. So I'm going to do everything in my power to earn this shot. So whatever path it takes me, I'm willing to go. I'll just say that. And if it starts with the gauntlet, I'll do it, man. Dynamite right in my backyard.
How about that? Clarksville. It's coming up tomorrow. It's a quick little ride for Jeff. I may actually ease up and hang out and check that one out.
Come on.
AEWTIX.com is where you can get your tickets right now at the F&M Bank Arena. And what a show they've got in Clarksville, Tennessee. This might be the biggest wrestling show in the history of Clarksville, Jeff.
No doubt. I mean, yes, correct. My buddy was who lives up there. He's like, how the heck?
I for one am for it. I think these markets are going to be extra hot for AEW. They don't get wrestling and big shows like this a lot.
Correct.
I don't think there's been a live television broadcast ever.
No, No.
from
And
Clarksville.
probably my buddy Crimson that people would.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's he's a military vet, stationed at Fort Campbell for a lot of years, but he lives up there. And so he ran, I don't want to say, it was about quarterly, every 3 or 4 months from, I'm going to get the years wrong, but about 2014 to 2017, 18, 19, Wilma Rudolph Center. Clarksville is a fantastic wrestling town. Just far enough outside of Nashville. They got a new arena up there. It's aligned with the Preds. So anyway, yes, it is by far the biggest professional wrestling show in Clarksville history.
I can't wait to see it, and I can't wait for the lineup. You know, you got the Casino Gauntlet. You're going to be there. MJF is going to be there, and Kenny Omega is back. He's back on Dynamite, and of all places, Clarksville, Tennessee. What a treat. Hopefully everybody had a chance to see Kenny Omega's performance over the weekend. Him and Gabe Kidd absolutely tore it down at AEW Wrestle Dynasty. My goodness, what a performance. The in-ring, the promo after. It feels like old school Kenny Omega's back, man.
Which is a blessing for all involved. But yeah, when you just, and I don't know the exact ins and outs, but man, and I won't even do it justice. It was more than a health scare. That situation, I won't do it justice, and for him to come back and literally match one, that was amazing. That's all I'll say. He is a once in a lifetime professional wrestler. I don't say just paid his dues through the years, but man, he is. This ain't his first rodeo. For him to come back on that stage and have that intensity, hats off to my man. I am certainly glad he is back in the active role of AEW wrestler.
I can't wait. I'm a big Kenny Omega fan, and I'm excited that he's going to be back. Hope everybody will check him out on Dynamite this Wednesday. I can't believe that he's back. I mean, it feels like forever since we've seen him, and I know he's been battling that illness, but if he's back at 100% and we see the Kenny Omega we just saw in Japan, man, AEW is going to be fun in 2025. Stay tuned. Hey, by the way, I wanted to mention,
mention the Bucks. Bucks are.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
You kind of feel the buzz, momentum. Mo is a very, very fickle, a fickle thing in professional wrestling. But, this streaming world with Netflix and Max and Kenny coming back and the Bucks coming back, and you can just kind of feel a good buzz, and I'm here for it.
It was kind of surreal seeing the Young Bucks at the post-match presser. The last time they were at Wrestle Kingdom, it was the Wrestle Kingdom I was at. It was the start of AEW. So I watched that Wrestle Kingdom in the dugout and got to hang out a little bit, and just to be in that building and those guys thinking, hey, this might be the last time. And for them to come back and be able to do that was really cool. I mean, that was actually one of the bigger highlights of the show to me, was the post-match presser with the Young Bucks. I mean, I know it's sort of taboo and nobody likes talking about it now, but 5-6 years ago was not that long ago. And in the scheme of things, boy, a whole lot sure has changed. It was really cool to see them in that setting again.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the good old wrestling business we joke about all the time. You never, ever know what's good. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen next week. So,
well, I mean, you might win the belt. I mean, that's what we know. That's why we watch every week. Hey, speaking, I know we're going to be watching some old school WCW. If you're just joining us, if you're listening, I don't even know how that would happen. Anyway, Nitro season 6, episode 2 on Peacock. So it's January 10th, 2000. I filled in and did some radio recently, and I'm just like immediately, if you're just joining us, like, whoa, hang on now. This is on demand.
Did you do some stuff?
Yeah. I mean, just whenever somebody needed, like if somebody's on vacation or something and I'm a local advertiser and they say, hey, can you come sit in or whatever?
I love it.
Yeah. I don't know how to run all the boards or anything, but I can yap into the microphone and run traffic. I mean, I know how to read a screen, but as far as
Cassio's good for something.
And Jimbo and Dale and yeah. I'm pretty pumped. AEW is going to be in Huntsville too. I hope if you're in the area and you can't make Clarksville, you will check us out in Huntsville. Going to be there at the end of the month. And I wanted to mention, since we're going to be watching some old WCW here, you recently stumbled across the Unbreakable Bunch, a really fun movie with a lot of fun characters from the WCW days. We actually got to screen this last year at Top Guy Weekend. It was Top Guy Rumble down in Tampa.
You did.
And you just ran across this. So I wanted to ask you, hey, what'd you think of the Unbreakable Bunch?
So, look, oh my gosh. You've already viewed this last year? Okay.
Yeah, last January.
Imagine this. The Last Outlaws late to the party on something, a movie. But no, Luther and Ray Glacier, call him Ray, we go back late 80s, early 90s. Luther obviously worked Memphis, for those who don't know. But then we were sitting at catering in Orlando. And one thing led to another. And they're like, hey, the movie. And they were talking about this and that. I'm like, do what? And so then they showed me a little bit of the clip. I said, how about that? I said, send that. I said, I want to see if Conrad and Silva have seen any of this. We can just kind of chat about it. But Ernest the Cat Miller, Haku, who else is in there? But anyway, it piqued my interest. So
Glacier.
Yep.
There's a lot of fun ones. It's the Unbreakable Bunch. Check it out if you haven't already. It's over on Amazon. How about that?
Ray,
look at that cover. Isn't that awesome?
It's Ernest Miller may be one of the funniest cats around
of all time.
It's a good segue into our episode today, because at WCW, me and him, we had a lot of fun. He's a character. Good dude. Absolutely good dude, but I had a lot of fun with him.
Speaking of good dudes, well, you beat them all. I mean, I know we don't normally talk about football on the program here, and we never talk about college football, certainly not pro.
No.
But in fantasy football,
we can't talk about fantasy. That's Conrad. This is called My World with Jeff Jarrett, and it's about stories behind the stories of my professional wrestling career. You know that, right?
I'm trying to do a DraftKings commercial.
Okay. So the segue about that I was referring to, because here on My World, what you got to do is that you have to make sure you know what in the hell you're doing. And the only way in the world of sports gambling is DraftKings.
Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. And, of course, this weekend, man, we've got all these NFL playoffs coming up. Are you fired up for this, Jeff? I know that you're a big pro guy, and I know that, unfortunately, your Titans aren't going to be there. But as we take a look this Saturday, we've got the Chargers -3 with the Texans, and we've got the Steelers +9.5 with the Ravens. So the Ravens are a 9.5-point favorite, and the Chargers are a 3-point favorite. It's interesting to think when you take a look at how the whole game stacks up, and then you go into the individual players on the teams. And then it becomes almost like, I don't know. It does enough math for me to get excited, Jeff. How about you?
Oh, without question. And Conrad, you were just referencing my stinking Titans, who now have the #1 draft choice. But that is the second team in this house. You know what team runs this house? They're in the playoffs this Saturday. Book it, boys. Take the Steelers. There ain't no way in hell Lamar's going to beat them by 9. And also take the Chargers. Chargers are red hot. They may run the score up this weekend. So that's my 2 picks this weekend. So playoff football is fantastic, Connie. It really is one of my favorite runs of weekends starting this weekend with all the wild card stuff. Can't get enough of the pro football playoffs.
So you're thinking that Russell Wilson's going to go ham. I just don't see it. So I think we're going to be on other sides there. But I will say new DraftKings customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code MyWorld. That's code MyWorld for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccp.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. So, Jeff, without further ado, I think it's finally time that we fire up the Monday Nitro from January 10th, 2000, season 6, episode 2. That's season 6, episode 2 on Peacock. I'm locked and loaded on my side. Jeff, you ready on your side?
Got all zeros, correct? That's what I need to have, right?
Yes, sir. All zeros.
Yes, sir. You just tell me. Give me the countdown. I'm
Make
ready.
sure you're muted, and here we go. In 3, 2, 1, play. And we're watching the old Nitro Open. I always hated this logo, and for a lot of fans, this logo represents when the WCW that they loved changed. Of course, Tony Schiavone has called it an exploding vagina. I think Eric Bischoff called it a cat's ass.
Well, who came up with this logo?
You know, that's interesting because Eric Bischoff and I have talked about it, that it was a decision that was made, that the marketing people and the branding people, and he didn't really like it, but he went with it because he was trying to delegate. And from what I've heard about Eric, his management style was very much one of delegation. He was hands off and let people do their jobs and didn't try to interfere and all that sort of thing. And yeah, there it is. And we're seeing here, this is an interesting era because a lot of people might not even remember this, but that's Arn Anderson beaten and battered that Kevin Nash was standing over on the Thunder set cutting a promo with Bret Hart, and look in the ring, it's Terry Funk. Terry Funk involved with Bret Hart and the NWO and Kevin Nash. I think, WCW was so searching for the next big thing at this point, and all the momentum seemingly was with the WWF. I bet a lot of fans don't even remember this, like Terry Funk having anything to do with the NWO, right?
He was the general, he was the authority figure. I don't know if we called him general manager or whatever it may be, but when you just kind of look at the cold open that we've just seen the last minute or so, and here's the traditional black limo pull up, and is the chosen one going to pop out of this would be my guess. Nope. There he is. From Double Cross, Terry Funk. But Conrad, when doing the quick research and we had that text exchange, there's Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff and Arn Anderson. If this wasn't a perfect era of way too many chefs in the kitchen, man, I bet Shivani and Eric have got such good insight on kind of that mindset, because by this point, Eric had to have been so frustrated.
Eric's not even there. This is
but I mean, was he gone? Yeah. Wait, so what's the date on this?
January 10th. We're Buffalo, New York. There's 5,338 paying fans, 3,652 freebies. So the gate is $121,604. I guess $11,000 was paid off the top to the DePaulo Foundation.
But you said 5,000 paid?
Yeah, 5,338 paid.
Okay, that's not a horrible live event attendance. 5,300 paid, but the cluster was a cluster. As far as, is this a 2 hour or 3 hour? 2 hour.
Yeah, we're 2 hours. So on our playback, it's an hour and 35 minutes here.
Yeah.
Bret Hart wrote about what we just saw, the hardcore stuff, recapping from last week. And he wrote about this in his article. He said, the holidays, I hardly even remember Christmas and New Year's because of the colossal pulverizing I've been through since the last time I wrote. The Starrcade match with Goldberg was extremely punishing. For days, I pulled myself up feeling like I'd been beat around like a Samsonite suitcase. My match with Chris Benoit was very physical. Then I found myself in there with Jerry Flynn, a world-class kickboxer turned wrestler who I'm amazed didn't break his own feet with how hard he was kicking me in the ribs. This past Tuesday, I ended up in a hardcore match with Terry Funk and woke up with a big goose egg on my head from when he dumped me out of a trash bin. Hitman Hardcore in a trash bin? Ah, yes, the times they are a-changing, and don't blame me. I signed an autograph for a guy who asked me the ever-present "is it fake" question, and I was stunned to realize that even I'm not sure I know the answer anymore. Is what fake? The lump on my head sure is real. I've been doing everything I can to help WCW compete in the ratings war with the WWF, and lately sometimes I find myself going against my own personal beliefs in order to be a team player. I ask myself, how far do I compromise in order to help WCW beat Vince McMahon, or do I find a personal victory in not bending at all? I'm having a harder time than people think finding that answer. What I do know is that in an effort to come up with their own version of the WWF's winning formula, WCW hired the WWF scriptwriters right out from under them. The phrase scriptwriter has no meaning in wrestling until very recently. People have always asked if wrestling is scripted, and the honest answer to that was no. I never saw or even heard of a script for a wrestling match. But now the first thing they do when you arrive at the arena is put a script in your hand. And it's not a script that tells you how to wrestle, although I fear that's not far off. It's a script for all the soap opera stuff, which has taken precedence over the wrestling matches. I find myself memorizing lines and rehearsing scenes. I want to make it very clear to anyone who might still be wondering, and I know there are a few of you, that I never really tried to kill Sid Vicious by running him over with a monster truck. That was fake. But I could have killed myself screeching out of an arena in a speeding car in another scripted scene. That was real. I'm flooring it, tearing out of backstage with no time in the scene to put on a seatbelt, and it turns out an icy rain had coated the ramp. There I am, careening out of control towards a huge tractor trailer filled with television equipment. In the last moment, I was somehow able to swerve to safety. About a week later, I was awakened in the middle of the night by the dawning realization that I had a concussion from when Goldberg kicked me in the head for real, and I'd been walking around in a haze ever since. Otherwise, there's no way I could have agreed to race a car up a narrow ramp flanked by not only expensive equipment, but by the way, what about other people who happen to be around? Then look at Goldberg, who was scripted to punch through a glass car window, ending up nearly cutting his forearm off, and now he'll be out of action for quite a while. It's actually sickening to me because in wrestling's proper context, it would have never happened. I'm a wrestler, not a stuntman. Even a stuntman has to have time to strap himself in. I'm a professional wrestler and I get paid to wrestle in a ring. What am I doing fighting in the back, taking falls on concrete and doing stunts and speeding cars? And the really scary part was when I realized I'd done exactly what Owen had done. I made a mistake and I knew I'd done something really stupid. And for what? I was hurt, weary, and all I wanted to do was go home for the holidays, so I didn't even see it coming. I made it clear to WCW I will never make that mistake again. I realized I just read off a lot from Bret there, but I felt like that was well timed because he's talking about, and this is his column recapping what happened on the 3rd. 1 week later, you're going to leave this same show with a concussion. And he's talking about what happened to Goldberg, what happened to him. And we know what's going to happen to you. And we're going to talk about that a little later. But I'm wanting to know, did you hear all this or read all this from Bret back then? And now, with a little bit of age on you, with the benefit of hindsight, when you hear Bret's words now, with 25 years, what do you make of it?
And to be clear, this was his weekly or bi-weekly column in the
Calgary Sun. Yes.
In the Calgary Sun, which always, Bret, old Beaner, as we affectionately call each other through the years, some movie that he referenced all the time. But, my relationship with, again, I'm going back to, and this may sound repetitive to folks that have listened to my world through the years, being a second generation wrestler, me, Bret, and Owen connected immediately on so many things. And, Bret, I don't want to say was a generation before me, but he's a little bit older than myself. And, his artistic ability, which made a lot of people laugh. But when I used to read his articles, he's not just well-spoken, his articles had a flow to them. This particular article I didn't see at the time, Conrad, or didn't read at the time. I read this after the fact, but now looking at it, like you said, through 2025, it was in so many ways, we've talked about at the top of this program, kind of the evolution of our industry. And there was a time, and I know that I'm going to get this wrong and whatever it may be, but when the Attitude Era exploded, Vince Russo and then Ed Ferrara, Vince and Ed were a lot of ways the very first script writers, and then they left, and then Brian Gerwitz and a whole host of others came on the writing team through the years. And, to this day, WWE has a Raw team and a SmackDown team and all NXT team and writer. Through the years, my dad would give bullet points on promos and all that. So the term script writer, that I think that's the thing that I really took out of that article that offended Bret and the stuntman. He has a lot of firsthand experience on things that, going from the concussion to getting behind the wheel of a car to having another hardcore match. I can't say that kind of stuff wouldn't happen today. But man, oh man, there's so many more safeguards with all team medical and, at WWE as well as AEW, there are so many resources, and we have, counseling programs and all that kind of stuff. This is the year 2000. The wrestling world just did not operate this way, but we were in an incredible transition period, which you're talking about, because we did have script writers and we did have word for word promos that were written out. And then we were doing, I'll say, the shock TV with the cars and Goldberg putting his fist through a glass that just ripped his forearm 15 different ways. That was super dangerous. So it's cool that we're looking back on it 25 years later. But the thing that comes to mind that I said at the top, way too many chiefs, in the kitchen cooking things. And we were in a crazy kind of transition period because we were moving from that, I'll call it pro wrestling era to really without script writers to such a micromanaged program that I think now things have subsided out in all companies, but it was a tough time, no doubt.
It's interesting too, because there's so much going on in WCW. We just saw a big skirmish here with some pretty talented folks.
Jeez.
This is the last episode before Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko and Perry Saturn and Eddie Guerrero walk out of WCW.
This is the last one. Buffalo.
This is their last Nitro.
Wow.
Because 6 days after this is the go home for the Sold Out. And we're going to see somehow, some way, I can't believe this is real, but we're going to see Chris Benoit beat Sid Vicious for the world title. And he quits the very next day. So the whole walkout on Nitro with the alleged conversation, and you never really talked about that. What did you hear the issue was? Why those guys? The rumor and innuendo is that for whatever reason, and we all know some of the circumstances, Chris Benoit did not trust his hands in the career of Kevin Sullivan, given what had happened in their real life. But allegedly, there was some sort of comment made by Mike Graham, like, "Hey, if you had done that with my wife, I'd have your head on a stick. I wouldn't have made you champion. I wouldn't have made you champion. I'd have had your head on a stick," or something like that.
Oh wow!
You never heard that,
Mike Graham? Wow!
Have you ever heard anything Mike Graham said?
Oh, I have. I have, and mental health is a bitch. But no, I didn't know he said that.
Hey, so when you're there, and I know we're talking about what happened a week after, but this is around the same time, and I don't know when we'll watch that episode. What do you remember hearing about the Radicals jumping and leaving? Like, what was the scuttlebutt amongst the boys that day?
The day they jumped or before?
Either or. Okay,
before, I just looked at it, or my assumption was I wasn't super close to any of those guys. I had matches with all of them, but they were very unhappy, like 90% or 95% of the rest of the roster. there was just again, man, I've said it too many times already on this episode. There wasn't a clear direction, and even if we thought there was a clear direction, we all kind of had in our gut, oh, things are going to change in any second. You're going to know this better off the top of my head that when Russo and Ed came, how long were they in power the first time? 3 months, I think. I mean, it was very quick. It feels like Vince came in and then he was out, and then before that, just there was zero stability. And so when they jumped, that's what came to my mind is I'm like, damn, they were really unhappy, but they obviously had been working on plan B for quite some time, was what my assumption was. How long had they been working on plan B? Do you know?
I don't know.
I didn't know.
My gosh. Take a look at this. We're seeing Ferrara come out dressed up like Oklahoma. He's got the black denim and the black button up, and he's got OK for Oklahoma. And he's got he's making a face like he's got Bell's palsy, and he's got a black cowboy hat. And of course he's got some barbecue sauce. What is this, man?
Well, and I remember back then, like, and to this day, Conrad, there will be different stories or in rings or comments or any of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, hey man, what's the ultimate payoff here? Like, where are we going with this? Ed's not a wrestler.
Right.
And to my knowledge, he's not going to manage any wrestlers full time. It was a parody segment to have isolated comedy. And there's no comeback here, but this kind of content, I think, has always existed in professional wrestling, content that goes nowhere.
Well, speaking of content that goes nowhere, we're going to have a conversation about Vince Russo, because he held a meeting on January 3rd, a week before, where he wanted people to just air out their problems. And if you need help airing out one of your problems, can I recommend Mando? Maybe you don't need to air that out, especially if your balls are stinking. I heard a report from Dynamite last week that one of the guys in particular, he needed to go wash, as we like to say in the South. He needs some whole body deodorant. It's safe to use anywhere on your body. The Last Outlaw, if you're fortunate enough to get a head scissor from him, you'll notice, man, it smells pretty fresh in here. Jeff lathers his pits, his balls, his thigh folds, his belly button, his butt crack, his feet. Miss Karen's in the back just slathering him up. She knows that this shit was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO is just being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It's been clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. So Jeff Jarrett could whoop your ass on Dynamite, not need a shower, whoop your ass on Collision, and then start thinking about it. Here's what he ain't going to think. He ain't going to think that he's stinking, because he knows he's got Mando and it's hooking him up into either solid stick deodorant, which is exactly what Jeff uses. It's formulated and powered by mandelic acid in order to stop odor before it even starts. Karen gets in there and gets going on Double J's little brown eye. And how about that spray deodorant? It's aluminum free and it's ideal for hard to reach places, which if you're Dave Sylvan, you got the little T-Rex arms, it's perfect. All the products from Mando are baking soda free. They're paraben free, and they're going to keep your ass stink free. Choose from a variety of fresh scents. Miss Karen loves that bourbon leather. She goes, and she smells Double J down yonder. How about Clover Woods? That'll make you smell nice. Mount Fuji, not Mr. Fuji, no rib. You're going to be smelling good. And Pro Sport is a favorite here at the household. Mando's been clinically proven to control odor better than just a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's grundle odor level is a 5 out of 10. But with Mando, the average grundle odor level is a 0 out of 10. Come on now. That's thinking right there. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with Double J's favorite, the solid stick deodorant, the cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice. We like the mini body wash and the deodorant wipes, and you even get free shipping. There's a special offer to our listeners. You get $5 off your starter pack with our exclusive code. That's like 40% off your starter pack when you use the code MyWorld at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando.
Right on. You said wash. Well, my man Code Dog, he's a big washer with Mando. He was headed out to UFC gym this morning. I got my workout there this morning. When I was coming in, he was going out. And the old queen said, Cody, get in there and get your Mando on. I didn't hear her say the words grundle, but she did tell Code Dog, get your Mando on. So the product is used in the last Outlaw's house. I'll say that.
Oklahoma, I thought he just literally kicked Asia's ass. And now she's body slamming him on the mat. Listen, I understand what you were saying about, hey, he's not a wrestler. He's not going to manage somebody. But if he's just coming out here to get beat up and put over one of the, sort of the WCW version of China, I'm for it. It establishes her, and I'm sure not everybody was lining up. I mean, Disco once threw a fit about working with Miss Jackie. Not everybody's the consummate professional. Come drop the Intercontinental title and cover themselves in baby powder and leave with $3, $4, $5, $6 million in a hard side spinner. What was those cases y'all used to carry back? Halliburton. That's what I was looking for.
What the hell does Medusa have on her head?
Well, I don't think anybody's worried about what's on her head. They're worried about what's around her waist. That is the Cruiserweight title. Yes, Medusa is the Cruiserweight champion. And she just got hit in the wig with a broom. It's one of Efren's wigs there. Oh, he just broke the broom over her.
Damn sure did.
Oh, now he's got the belt. Oklahoma is he's the Cruiserweight champion.
Ed's a hell of an actor. Pretty good bump taker for not being a seasoned pro. And I've always thought Ed is a talented guy. This was just one of his fine red letter days.
Well, hang on now. I won't have you disparage the good goddamn name of Ed Ferrara. One of my Mount Rushmores of Cruiserweight champions. Everybody knows the Mount Rushmore Cruiserweight champions. Everybody. But we'll just run through it and recap. First of all, you got the Innovator. Who are we kidding? It's Rey Mysterio. Was there ever a better Cruiserweight champion than Rey Mysterio, Jeff?
Probably not. Maybe Hoovy.
But okay, well, I'll take that into consideration. But I would say if he's 1A, 1B, you got to be looking at Medusa. And now if you're going to go to 2, some would call it 3. You got to put Hornswoggle in the mix.
Oh,
and then last but certainly not least, Ed Ferrara. Dude, come on.
Snap into a Slim Jim as we watch Macho Man.
Think about that, Jeff. Like from a business and marketing junkie standpoint, they left that commercial in. The WWE chose to leave that commercial in because it featured one of their performers, and it wasn't inside of a stop set. It was going in or coming out of a break, and they left it. And so all these years later, 25 years later, Slim Jim is still getting value for that buy that they paid for 25 years ago. It's not cut out. That's just amazing to me.
And I was chuckling at I remember that spot came out, him like in a straitjacket. I didn't even put the context that you just gave it. 25 years later, that money that was spent, he's still selling Slim Jims from the grave.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you have the context that you said Russo gave a speech?
Oh, yeah. Let's run through it. There was a report in the newsletter that came out that said, well, here it is from the Observer. Vince called a meeting of everyone and tried to air out any problems on January 3rd and tell people if they had a problem doing anything asked of them to come to them about it, probably stemming from Bret Hart's reaction after being asked to run Sid's car over with the monster truck. The meeting seemed to go along fine for a while, although when Russo told the group he was giving the tag titles to David Flair and Crowbar because they'd been working so hard and he wanted to reward good work, it didn't go over well with anyone because of the feeling that having them as champs destroys whatever the value those belts have. At one point in the meeting, Nash started complaining about the food and the fact that they have to be at the building at 1 p.m. and can't tan or be in the gym, and the catering is so bad. He yelled at David Crockett, who was in charge of that, and it wound up with Gary Juster arguing with Kevin Nash. It was brought up about bringing weights to the building so guys could work out, but Saturn complained they couldn't get any kind of workout because they wouldn't be well equipped enough. Because so many wrestlers have injuries to body parts, there are many movements they can't do. So well-equipped gym machines are easier on the joints where they can at least get some sort of workout on that body part that they couldn't if they were just using free weights alone. For whatever reason, the meeting started falling apart at that point, and Gary Juster talked to wrestlers individually about it. Later, they went to Russo and complained they shouldn't have yelled at for having a suggestion because it was supposed to be an open forum, and Russo pretty well agreed. So it sounds like Russo was trying to make everyone happy, and it went off the rails. Were you in this meeting? What do you remember?
I don't recall it, but I would imagine, because this is prior to the concussion, right? Yeah, this is the week before.
The week before.
Maybe I was there, but boy, it did sound like it went off the rails. But anyway, that's why I was curious for you to kind of give me the 411 on it. Maybe I was there. Does it say what venue? Sometimes the venue spot, but regardless, I don't remember it.
Do you remember there being discussions? I mean, I know that, guys complaining about catering or getting to the building early. That's an old thing. I mean, that's not a new thing. What can you tell us about,
and that's an ongoing, the catering. There was a time they were fining guys for being late at WCW, and then because it was kind of a subjective check-in process, and then they were going to go into, I guess you could say, I don't say fingerprinting, but a digital mechanism that, it's incumbent upon the talent and the people that were checking you in. They couldn't lie for you and say, oh yeah, they've been here. You had to digitally check in. Maybe it was a fingerprint or something, but catering, getting there on time, working out. I've heard talks back in the day. Can you get tanning beds at the building? All kinds of stuff like that. There's never a happy medium, no matter what. You can push it up, in those days. I think you just referenced that Kevin said 1, it can be 2:00, it can be 3:00. And then, you have a certain amount of pre-tapes, and then you're going to get behind. Oh, Conrad, it's the wrestling business. It's always a juggling act. And it's always on a case-by-case business.
It's interesting to think, about the way the business has changed and what really hasn't changed, as far as guys complaining about call times or catering and things like that. And certainly the gym, like I get that, especially with the travel that some of these guys were doing back then. You asked about the town the week before. This meeting was held on January 3rd at the Bilo Center in Greenville, South Carolina. And the finals that day were David Flair and Crowbar beating Kevin Nash and Scott Steiner to win those tag titles. Oh, take a look at the front row right there.
Enoch Skipper, Reno, Sonny Siaki, Alan Funk, Chuck Palumbo, straight out of the that's all out of the power plant, right? And there's
yes,
Paul Orndorff probably giving a little speech about those guys. Oh, good talent right there.
This is it's Terry Funk, Paul Orndorff, Larry Zbyszko, and Arn Anderson. And they're calling themselves the Old Age Outlaws.
Oh, God. For
I
real?
mean, yeah. I don't know if that's really the way you should do it.
Oh, you think? Wow. That's when you said earlier, a lot of people don't even remember this. You could not have said a more true statement. I completely miss the Old Age Outlaws. And why in the hell would those 4 guys go for it? Is it running joke? I guess.
They're all going to take turns cutting promos here. Zbyszko gets a standing O. And Orndorff, according to Dave Meltzer, his promo was not very good and came off pretty sad because he was a great promo guy, and this was just a miss. And the NWO guys are going to come out, and it's written in the Observer, Nash carved him up like a Thanksgiving turkey. How about Double J out there sporting Titans jersey?
Frank Wycheck jersey in Buffalo. The old Music City Miracle. Got a lot of miles out of that number 89 through the years. This was the second time I'd worn it. And, yep, they were not happy the first time I wore it, nor the second time. And earlier in the show, you saw some, I think it was Washington and a few of the other Buffalo linemen. But there were some Buffalo Bills in the house this night as well.
It's written in the Observer here. You have all these old guys who really don't look like they even belong in wrestling in 2000. Then you have these guys coming out with a dozen women with enough silicone in them to make a minis tag team match. And who do you think the crowd cheered? Jarrett, wearing a Tennessee Titans jersey, was the only one even trying to get heat. Even though Funk has carried the recent TV, this was one of the saddest performances I've seen of him because he just stood there on the mic, his specialty, playing face, while Nash made him look like an old, out-of-date fool. When Funk strongly said if he and Hart didn't wrestle each other, he'd suspend them without pay, Nash came back not selling it a bit, saying he could use the vacation time and he saved his money. Therefore, Funk was dead. Now, this is a conversation I've had with legends in professional wrestling. I know when I say that, people are going to assume I mean Ric Flair. I know Rick agrees with this, but he's not the person who said this. But it is a well-respected member of the wrestling community. I'm not going to say his name because it'll just stir up controversy. But he has said, and he was the first person who said this to me maybe 10 years ago, and I did a double take. Like, wait, what'd you say? And his statement was, the NWO killed WCW. And I thought, wait, what now? No. The NWO is what made WCW successful. Like, you got it all wrong. And his attitude was, and it's sort of written, if you read between the lines there with what Dave wrote, the NWO made it cool to be a heel. So you neuter the babyface. So the whole dynamic of good guys and bad guys now becomes cool and lame. And I mean, even Meltzer, as he's running through it, Jarrett, wearing a Tennessee Titans jersey, was the only one trying to get heat. And at first, when I heard that the NWO ruined WCW or killed WCW, I was like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. But the more I listen, the more I pay attention, the more I try to understand the thinking of a wrestler. I mean, it's on display right here. Everybody else in this NWO, they're here to be the cool guys. We're the cool heels. We're too cool for school. We listen to Tupac and West Side and all this bullshit. Meanwhile, here you come in Buffalo wearing a Titans jersey and your Bob Vila glasses. You're the only person that everybody's like, hey, they're all pretty cool, but fuck that guy. I want to beat that guy up. Like, you understood the assignment. How often do you, as someone who's seen everything in wrestling for decades, see guys who maybe grew up on this era and they want to be a heel, but they want to be the cool heel? And do you think you're missing it?
Conrad, we could press pause on this episode and start right into a new episode in saying 99.9% of the time, tweeners suck.
Yeah.
It is a death knell. And the simple psychology, Conrad, this is maybe, this is staying on topic. I re-signed. We talked about that. When I first came into AEW, I think one of the things that not only surprised me, but in my mind, I just kind of chuckled. I would come through the curtain after the performance, after the match, and lots of different folks were saying, damn, Jeff, they hate your ass out there. And I was just like, yeah. Isn't that what we're trying to accomplish here? Like, it isn't, to play the antagonist. Don't try to be likable. Don't, the simple 101 of it. And that's, I think that is so missed in today's age. And I think it's society, take it outside of wrestling, the social media age and the Instagram filters and living a lie and the facade and all the BS. And I'll say it, people don't like to get their feelings hurt, or their bad negative comments really offend folks. And we could probably go on and on and on. But as far as wrestling 101, I come from an era that your ass would get fired.
Yeah.
The tweener stuff is not marketable at all. Matter of fact, it is not just, Bull Man would call it a town killer, certainly a match killer, but the 101 of trying to say cool insider remarks and the heel getting a little bit of a cheer here and there because they're clever. The end result of that is a disaster, because not only do you not get over as a talent, your segment doesn't get over. And what you said, you neuter the babyface, that it makes it almost impossible for them to get that emotional connection where the viewer wants to get behind that protagonist and say, go kick his ass. It just neuters all of that, Conrad. It's funny you brought that up today. I guess it's appropriate here at the NWO and you making that comment, but the tweener stuff.
Well, it's a Vince Russoism. Vince Russo was pretty on record, and I don't disagree with this, with saying that the world isn't black and white, it's shades of gray. And I agree with that. I do. And I do think some of my favorite movies that I enjoy the most have nuanced storytelling. Like in the movie or in the series The Sopranos, we all pull for a murderer, gangster, villain who cheats on his wife and abuses drugs and blah, blah, blah. Like, we're pulling for Tony Soprano. We're pulling for the bad guy. But that is not what draws the most money. Like, if I was to ask you, I know you're not really a movie junkie, Jeff, but what genre, like what niche, if you will, of movies makes the most money, do you think?
Oh, what genre? That's a good, I don't know.
How about Marvel?
Oh,
Does Marvel ring a bell? Like, are there characters that are gray? Sure. But by and large, we know Superman's a good guy. Batman's a good guy. Like, we don't have to wonder, is the Riddler turning babyface? No, he's a fucking heel. The Penguin's a heel. It's clear to see. Now, let's go a step further. What movies make the most money historically? They're G-rated Disney style movies. Do they have shades of gray, or they're very clearly defined good guys and bad guys in Disney movies? Come on.
Yeah. Well, and Conrad, here's my response to all of, and me and Russo, and I'll say many others, I don't want to single him out, but many others, when that whole shades of gray conversation would come up, I would say, hey man, you are absolutely 100% right. You can fill in the blank with Sopranos in movies, all of that. But hey, bud, guess what? This is professional wrestling. Or you can call it sports entertainment. It's the exact same thing. Vince was clever because he didn't want to use wrestling and blah, 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 blah. But it's all one and the same. But this is professional wrestling. So your shades of gray, I hear you loud and clear. I don't disagree with you. But in professional wrestling, was Hulk Hogan, what were his shades now against Andre the Giant and Stone Cold Steve Austin when they did the switch and Vince came out behind the curtain? It was employee versus employer. I mean, we could go on and on and on in the examples, but you just have to tweak it, but you don't tweak all these different shades of gray. I think that is, I used to say this in creative meetings. I would say, hey guys, that's just being lazy. That is absolutely being lazy. You can write a story and have the antagonist. You don't want redeeming qualities. Can he say something here and there that might be a little bit clever? Yeah. But the end result, you want David versus Goliath or whatever, any kind of silly analogy you want to come up with. Yeah. But the tweener mentality that Kevin and Scott did made a boatload of money.
For them.
Yes. But
and for WCW short term, but boy, it neutered the baby's faces.
Over time, it did.
Yeah.
I think they would agree. And in a lot of ways, that NWO, it broadened out to 10 guys. That didn't do any favors either, because then there was a whole faction of tweeners.
It just feels like, the NWO became a show like Yellowstone or one of these television dramas that people really, really love, where we fall in love with the characters and we just keep watching, but it doesn't feel like there's really a clear story. Like a movie is written with the beginning, the middle, and the end in mind. And sometimes great movies, they start at the end and they work backwards. But with a television series, sometimes it's like, let's create another circumstance where this beloved character he's got this new situation he's got to deal with, but we don't really know what the ending is. And maybe the critical flaw of the whole NWO thing is we didn't have a proper ending. Like usually the proper ending is, hey, and the babyface overcame and he won and he reigned supreme. And at a glance, people would say, yeah, well, that was Sting. Yeah, but the NWO didn't end at Starrcade 97. Here we are in January of 2000 still talking about it. We needed a solid ending, I think, that we never really got.
And I mean, that's when you're selling a boatload of T-shirts and all that. Well, let me ask you this, Conrad, just for discussion purposes. What do you think was more fatal? Never giving them an ending or making a black, even a red and black and a white and black and maybe 20 to 30 guys in both factions? Which did more damage? No ending or too many members?
Well, they did the red to sell more T-shirts. So the whole red thing was born out of, hey, we can sell more T-shirts. And as a business guy, I love it. I get it. It's creating revenue. I understand it. But I've also been under take a look at the way they've used Roman Reigns. The bloodline may be there at every show, but Roman Reigns is not going to be. And so, when Roman's there, okay, now we're going to have some really important critical stuff happen. And I think if anything, to your point, maybe the NWO was a little overexposed. You need to leave them wanting more.
Yeah.
I say all that, but I also remember once upon a time, people were saying, oh, they split up the Shield way too soon. There was so much more story to be told with the Shield. And by the way, at the time, I totally agreed with that. It felt way premature. Now I'll look back with the benefit of hindsight and I look at the way those three guys' individual careers have gone. And even at the time, I wonder, were they thinking, hey, now I really want to go singles? Or did they think, I really wish we had more time with this? Were they happy? I'm not sure. But with the benefit of hindsight, it was absolutely the right call to break up the Shield when they did. Look at the success they've enjoyed individually. But there's a lot of guys who enjoyed great success with the NWO. And that was the peak, and it never really came back.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the difference between cutting it too soon and letting it go too long. I mean, I'm not comparing the impact the Shield had on the business to the NWO. There's no comparison. The NWO was a much bigger deal. But like, when was the last time you even saw someone wear a Shield T-shirt?
No, it doesn't happen.
For that matter, even a Bloodline T-shirt. Like, I think that is the thing that makes the NWO so much bigger. Even DX, the NWO shirt is so much more iconic. I mean, it's everywhere, even today in 2025. Guys are making six-figure incomes sitting at the house
off of shirts
because they wore a shirt on TV 25 years ago. They didn't create the shirt. They didn't create the logo. They didn't make a deal with the vendor. They didn't have any notes or revisions. They were handed a black and white shirt and said, wear this to the ring. And all the decades later, they're still making a six-figure salary because they wore it. Isn't that crazy?
All right. So, the graph I sent you the other day, I don't know, we exchanged so many texts, but
yeah,
the amount of people watching 97 through 99.
Yep.
And I feel like as hot as DX was, the brand of at that time, the WWF always overshadowed everything. Always. At WCW, they positioned the NWO as the brand. And the angle and the story, obviously, but I think that's the longevity, and that's what completely set it apart, that you really did see Hogan, Hall, and Nash, quote unquote, three WWF guys. It was like the brand. For that matter, you don't see many WCW shirts either, Bloodline, DX, or WCW shirts. You see that NWO shirt, and I think it was just because it was earmarked as a brand.
We're seeing a debate right now. There is a clock counting down, and there is a in-ring debate right now between Diamond Dallas Page and Buff Bagwell. This is the same show where we saw Oklahoma and Medusa with barbecue sauce for the Cruiserweight title, 4 in-ring promos from legends, 4 promos on the stage from the current stars, couple of backstage skits, a big fight and stunt man. I mean, we're not seeing a lot of wrestling matches here on Nitro today, Jeff.
The balance, right? The balance. Going back to OMJ, Old Man Jarrett, is what some folks called my dad in the early days of TNA. Scott Deore, he always called him OMJ, but it made me, he was a stickler on that. When I'll say some of our healthy conversations, that was a big thing that he had, that he thought his best shows had the good balance. He's talking about the 90-minute wrestling shows, the studio shows in Memphis had the right amount of balance.
Hey, by the way, I want to give a shout out to Scott Deore. Since we've recorded, it came down that he's the former TNA president, of course, Scott Deore, and he's reportedly been brought in by WWE to be the head of creative and booking for NXT, with plans to have Shawn and Triple H oversee the booking of Raw and SmackDown in 2025. That was the report we got on New Year's Day. One of the good dudes that you and I have grown fond of, and I know he just launched his own wrestling promotion, but
is that,
I don't know. What's that?
Did WWE put it out? Is it official?
I haven't seen a WWE report like that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
A Fightful reported it, and they're not known for making shit up.
Okay. That's because I'd heard kind of, wasn't it last week that there was some buzz that went out on that? So yes, congrats nonetheless. But I was like, is it official? I didn't see it put out there yet. So yeah, the business is so excited. Who would have thought is where I was going with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's what I was going to say. You know, and wasn't that long ago he was running TNA, and I think we were all shocked when they parted ways. I don't think I would have ever imagined in that moment. I knew TNA had a great working relationship with NXT, and I knew that he was at the core of it. It honestly just never crossed my mind with him being so gung-ho on starting up Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, which is going to be a huge success. I know it. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He knows how to do it. But the idea that, you know, he may have an opportunity to be a power broker within WWE and NXT, given what the success they've had with TNA, that bodes well for him, and
it's interesting
for the other side, isn't it?
I was going to say things just got real interesting around the coffee table, so to speak.
And us seeing that, you know, this guy's no longer going to take independent bookings, and that guy, he's not going to re-sign. He's going to test the free market, and some of that's making a little sense now, isn't it? Hey, speaking of making sense, this is in the Observer. Several former WWF wrestlers were approached about being in the angle with Jarrett. Snuka and Steele agreed to $2,000 to $3,000, but Tito Santana, King Kong Bundy, Honky Tonk Man, and Bob Backlund turned it down. Nick Bockwinkel was always approached. At this point, nobody from the company has talked with Bruno Sammartino, but there are still intermediaries talking with him about this angle to put Jarrett over. But Sammartino also wants to hear from Russo personally. Boy, there's a lot to unpack here. Okay. Let's run through some of the names. But before we do, I want to remind everybody that Jeff and I have really, really clean buttholes thanks to our friends at Tushy. Jeff Jarrett don't put up with a lot of bullshit. Anybody who's ever been in the ring with him knows that. And he doesn't do it at home either. Here's a resolution that's not a pain in the ass. Tushy Bidet fits on your toilet in under 10 minutes. It's going to improve your health. It's going to save you time and money every time you go bomb the bowl. I'm a big believer in this. I've had a Tushy from day one. I'm talking about for years. Literally every toilet in my house has a Tushy on it. And it's been that way for a long, long time. People come over and they visit and they say, dude, what in the world is that? Well, next time you go, give it a shot. Here's all you got to do. It really is that simple, by the way. You sit down, handle your business, turn the knob, and a refreshing stream of clean water goes right in your poop chute. And once you're done, you just simply pat it dry with toilet paper. You're going to feel cleaner. You're going to feel better. It's going to boost your confidence. It's going to save you money. It's just more sanitary. But I'm telling you, when you go back to doing it the old-fashioned way, like if you find yourself at a restaurant or a friend's house or in a hotel and you have to do it the old-fashioned way, it feels like you're a caveman. I'm a big believer in this. I want you to try it. Tushy is the modern bidet attachment. It instantly transforms your bathroom habits and your butt health for life. The Tushy bidet easily attaches to your existing toilet. You don't need any additional plumbing. You don't need any additional electricity. Washing with a precise stream of fresh water removes 99% of bacteria compared to wiping with toilet paper. Installation just takes about 10 minutes, and literally anybody can do it. And it gives you 2-in-1 benefits, this Tushy bidet. You're going to reduce irritation and prevent micro tears with soothing water instead of scratchy toilet paper or damaging wet wipes. It's also easy to use. I mentioned all you do, sit down, handle that business, turn that knob, get that refreshing stream. When you're done, pat that rascal dry and you're good to go. People who've made the switch use up to 80% less toilet paper. That means you've got more to throw at Ricochet. No more clogged toilets. Save your money and your ass at the same time. And every Hello Tushy bidet comes with a 30-day hassle-free return and even a 12-month warranty. Instantly improve your health from the bottom up. For a limited time, our listeners can get 10% off their first bidet order when they use the code MyWorld at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com and use our promo code MyWorld. Jeff, how clean's your old poop suit right now?
Oh, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's an 11.
Did we eat off of it?
Oh, well, let's not get there, Connie.
Okay, maybe not. HelloTushy.com/MyWorld. Use that promo code MyWorld. You're going to get 10% off. Dude, I'm a Tushy man. You will be too. I know this sounds silly for us to be this excited about this. I dare you to try it. Just go try it, and you'll be like, what was I doing? Check him out. Chris Benoit is walking to the ring right now wearing a referee shirt. Last time we're going to see him on Nitro in the stripes here.
Can you help me out something here? I was just sitting here thinking as we were talking about cleaning anuses and stuff like that.
Yeah, as we do.
What was the premise of me facing these legends? Like, why? What? I'm trying to recall.
You don't know the answer to that?
Oh, bring it on, pal. Because when I saw Chris walking down the aisle as a special ref, I was like, yeah, I do remember that. But now, give it to me.
Well, listen, it's sort of like you're doing the, you just saw the promo. You've got the current stars and the old guard.
Yes.
So the old age outlaws have got some legends who you're going to be working with here. And this is what they've laid out for you. Like Kevin Nash is supposed to wrestle Bret Hart, but the legends, Terry Funk, who's your commissioner now, he's ordered you to wrestle some legends. So you're about to have a match with George the Animal Steel. It's a bunkhouse match.
Okay.
He's 63 years old.
Yep. And
you're going to go 1 minute and 13 seconds.
And I am the current U.S. champion at the time. I believe that's the belt around my waist.
Yes, sir.
How about that? So me and Benoit, I think, because I saw some social media posts last month being the 25-year anniversary, ladder matches and stuff like that. So, okay. I'm connecting the dots best I can, pal.
The week prior in Greenville, you got powerbombed by Sid Vicious. And he won by DQ, but it was a powerbomb match. The day after, that was January 3rd, was the Tokyo Dome, and they had 63,500 people in the building to see Sasaki beat Tenryu and Chono beat Muda.
63,000?
Yep. Also on that show was Rick Steiner beating Randy Savage. It was supposed to be Bill Goldberg, but he had to be subbed out because he put his arm through a window. But Randy Savage was on a Tokyo Dome show 25 years ago. Most people don't even know that.
Hell no. I would have never. Fascinating.
By the way, Rick Steiner beat him.
Beat Macho.
Yeah.
See?
Here he comes. By the way, him with the shirt on. I mean, George the Animal Steel looks like Animal Steel from 87 here. Is it WrestleMania 3 or is it 2000?
So, give you a little context. When I started at the WWF in 93, whenever that was, George was an agent.
Yes.
And man, he took, I'll say this, a lot of time with me on the house shows when I worked with him. And he had he's obviously well-educated, folks that don't know that. He was a coach and teacher in the Detroit area for years and years. I hate to say this, but a sweetheart of a guy. But he understood psychology. I think at the very top of the whole level was he knew what Pat and Vince liked, period. And he would say, hey, man, Jeff, let's kind of do a little bit here and a little bit there. He really helped me out a lot. And so for me to get the opportunity to do this, whatever it was, 4 or 5 years later, I had a lot of fun. George, great guy. Fantastic guy.
George is throwing all the different items out of that big carrying case that you brought it down in. And it is just a laundry list of things. Brooms, and of course you got your guitar and a bunch of other shit. We've got some some interesting stuff that's going to happen on this show, including Tank Abbott challenging Doug Dillinger.
Yeah, it's a potpourri, Connie. We've seen 4 in rings. We've seen Steiner with his women. We've seen all kinds of stuff.
I mean, this is the go home. The guy who's dressed up like a referee in the match right here wins the world title in 6 days. On pay-per-view.
Can you imagine?
So the way we're going to get him ready for the pay-per-view main event this coming weekend is we're going to have him referee a match between a guy wrestling in a Titans jersey and a guy who eats supper at 4:30. What are we doing?
What are we doing, Conrad? I was sitting there looking as we go around the ring, the bike rails, how things looked in 25 years ago, and the nice Nitro ring mat. But me and you shared exchanges about the sponsors all over rings now. Professional wrestling, that's changing. And there's the trademark.
That's what they came to see, by God.
Damn right it is.
And here come the legends. Of course, they're going to scare you back in there. Oh, there you go. You got to show everybody the throw rug on the back. Who had the hairier back, do you think? George Steele or Dutch Mantel, or is it a tie?
It's a tie. It is. They've got an Afghan. Boom, George.
Oh, how about the little spine buster action right behind it?
Boom. Trademark.
Oh my gosh. George the Animal Steel just whooped your ass.
Yes. I can remember telling Russo, I said, Russo, I'm all for getting the legends over, but really? Like, where are we going with this?
Yeah, I mean, I know that everybody is having fun with this, but what does that really set up, what we just saw? It's not like you're going to have a match with Arn Anderson.
No. He was retired.
Yes.
But again, Chris was going for the world title, and he got over strong by doing a 1, 2, 3.
By the way, we're seeing half a dozen women in the back as Big Papa Pump is pouring champagne on his abs as it drips down to his towel. Jarrett was out there playing both sides of the fence, kissing up to both Nash and Hart. Steiner was out there apparently having sex with a dozen women, but he was starting to fatigue as the show went on.
Mercy, mercy, mercy. Like,
so he could have been helping you, but he was busy servicing his freaks.
His freaks, yep. Freaks and peaks. That's what Big Papa was about during this time.
I mean, do you see how little wrestling is on this fucking show, Jeff?
I do.
Just non-stop talking.
And you know, we haven't had the sound up because neither one of us could take it. But look, oh my gosh. So, you know, the data that comes out, I'm sure our crackpot researchers didn't have this. I wonder how much actual wrestling time is in this 1 hour and 30 minutes of content.
The answer is not enough.
Yeah, you can say that again.
So now we've got Booker T out here. So it's going to be Stevie Ray challenging Booker T at midnight. T is not going to accept the challenge until Ray slaps him. And T accepts the challenge for the pay-per-view. It's written here in the Observer to 0 pop. I mean, it was scary how much people didn't care. And this to me is evidence that we're not putting together a good wrestling program.
No.
When you finally have a match between Booker T and Stevie Ray, that you can't get any reaction to this heritage tag team that we've all grown up with over the last 7-8 years. And now they're finally going to be facing each other. Oh, Stevie nearly busted his ass on that sign on the ramp.
All that, yep.
Anyway, I just think that's so crazy that you can't get that story over.
And yeah, they've been since what, 90? So a 10-year brother tag team splitting up. Do you have ratings for this show?
Yeah, I can find them.
Yeah, I just
you lost. Let me give you a spoiler.
I was going to give it context and just the I know it's a different era completely, but so little everything we're talking about. But you know, still 53, 54.
They got a 3.4 rating, 3.8 first hour, 2.8 second hour. First hour, you're unopposed without Raw. Second hour, you're heads up with Raw, and you got a 2.8.
Yeah. Times are changing, and 5,300 in the building with no wrestling. But at least George Animal ate a turnbuckle pad.
This is only the second time that we've had a Nitro back to 2 hours. 99 is when we finished up 3 hours.
Okay.
So I do actually like a 2-hour show. As we're recording, of course, everybody knows later tonight, as folks are listening to this, last night, WWE debuted on Netflix. And as we're recording, it's come out that they plan for the show to go 3.5 hours tonight, Jeff. They're going to have limited commercials. And they say that domestically, if you're in Texas, you're going to see commercials. But if you're in Italy, you won't. You'll just be watching the matches. Now, I know some of you listening to this think, well, that's not fair. Well, here's a spoiler. They're going to hire sales teams all over the country and sell ads everywhere, not just here. Wow. I mean, the more you think about it, the bigger and bigger this opportunity gets, is it not?
The chess pieces that continue to kind of evolve through this, that's why it's what a great time to be in professional wrestling business. I mean, it's to a whole nother level. They earlier announced or cemented or re-cemented the Hogan relationship, correct?
Yeah.
They put a press release out, didn't they? I don't know if that was...
Dude, it was a huge deal. I was actually I texted it to Eric when I saw it, and I said, I think the old Hulkster is going to make more money on this deal than he has anywhere else, including wrestling. Like, it's one thing to get a beer brand up and going. We've seen a lot of people do that. It's another to get distribution nationally or globally. But when they roped in, because the press release today says that not only is Real American Beer, Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer now an official WWE partner, but WWE is part owner and they have ownership. They are going to blow that up globally. I mean, it is crazy the amount of money that the Hulkster is going to make on his beer idea.
Back up the Brinks truck.
I mean, it's every now and again you see the way people move and operate, and you just think, man, does Jeff Jarrett ever lose? I mean, does Hulk Hogan ever lose? And the answer is no.
Hush.
Who do you think all-time greatest workers in the history of wrestling? Vince McMahon, Hulk Hogan, Jeff Jarrett. Who gets the fourth spot? Is it Dwayne?
Oh, he's at the tip top.
I mean, as soon as the new year starts, let's ring in the new year with a $14 million bonus in stock. Why don't you ease on down there to the Golden Globes, and we'll have Vin Diesel give you a shout out, and then come on over and celebrate Raw on Netflix and act like you did it all. And it'll be a huge deal,
The best.
And he's got Moana. That thing blew up. My daughter saw a red one. He had a Christmas movie. I guess he's helping Santa Claus. Like, that dude's like,
he's moving
everywhere right now. Yeah.
Timing is everything. Oh,
so it's got to be Rock, Vince, Hogan, Double J.
Yeah, don't put me in those.
What are you talking about, dude? You just finessed Tony Khan into a lifetime contract with guarantee. He guaranteed you a title run, just like Vince used to do in his living room. I know what happened. He came over. He flew you in, picked you up at the airport in a limousine, brought you and the wife in, got you in his living room. He had an oil painting of himself over the deal. He had chocolate chip cookies. He wanted to see if you would take one or not. Y'all both looked at the last one at the same time. You put lifts in your shoes before you went. No, that was Jericho going to meet Vince. It was something like that, though, I bet.
Oh, you're too much, pal. You are too much. Back to the program. Arn Anderson looking in a car. What was he doing?
He wanted to see how many miles that rascal had because his son was turning 16 soon, and he needed to get him some new wheels, you see.
Is this
I don't even know what we're watching at this point.
I think this is the match number 2 of my All-Star.
Oh, it is, but I'm just saying, like.
Oh.
So we just saw Jeff Jarrett wrestle, and if you want to call it that, I don't even know. Would you call that a match with George the Animal Steel?
No, I literally, the only bump I took was from not even my opponent. And you kind of look back on this, and okay, Arn gave me the spine buster. if we're building towards something, why didn't Chris do something? He literally was just the straight up referee like he is right now.
Of course, Funk's going to cut a promo here, and he's saying the first match is a regular match, but the second match is a bunkhouse match, and the third match is a cage. Of course, he got that out of order a little bit. The first one was a bunkhouse. This one's going to be a regular match. And you're going to be wrestling Tito Santana here. And Meltzer would say Tito got a nice pop, but that was because Terry Funk worked his ass off and putting him over.
Yep. The match, did we get a star rating for me and Tito? I think
no, you did. You went 2 minutes and 25 seconds. So if you combined what you did with George the Animal Steel and with Tito, you went 3 minutes and 38 seconds between both matches.
I think it's called a dud in cage match lore or Meltzer lore, a dud.
By the way, you want to guess how old Tito is right here? Just
50,
guess.
55.
46.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, isn't that funny? Age is a funny thing.
It is.
Because, like, we don't have a frame of reference for how old Tito is.
No.
We just know at this point, hey, Tito's been around for a long time, so he's got to be 50-something. No, Tito's been around a long time, and he's 40-something. That dude started early.
Yeah, he did. Hell of a talent. Hell of a talent.
By the way, little known fact, Dave Silva's favorite wrestler.
Get out of here. Tito?
Yep. You're my favorite wrestler, and Tito Santana is Dave Silva's favorite wrestler. Our favorite wrestlers are about to wrestle each other.
How about that, Silva? How about that? Yeah, Tito, at one time, he really had it going on at the WWF. Big time.
Oh, dude, he was one of the tippy tops. By the way, I want to mention, I just looked this up. I can't believe this is real. Did you know Tito Santana wrestled around Thanksgiving in 2022 in Australia?
For Melbourne Championship Wrestling or who?
BCW.
BCW?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Battle Championship Wrestling.
Okay. There's the Buffalo Bills offensive line right there, Conrad.
Yeah, I know what you're doing. You're getting heat. You're showing off.
Yeah.
You're doing your job, trying to make them hate you, trying to get booze. Oh, I don't know if that was a good call.
No. Shades of Zach Pillar coming over the railing at me. Did that a few years later to Zach, and he didn't take very kindly to it.
Yeah, by the way, you'll just go off script and start doing shit to people. Like, I remember sitting ringside and you just came over and started choking me. I didn't even know it was coming.
I did. I would never do that to you.
There's footage of it.
Well, it's AI. You doctor stuff up these days. Here we go.
I don't know why, but I find it funny that you're in the prime of your career. Tito's 46 and you're the one wrestling in a shirt.
I didn't even think of that. Why do I still have the shirt on?
You're trying to get heat, man.
Okay.
You want everybody to hate you. You got to remember, this is playoff time.
You're true. Oh, we were still a good team this year.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, we were still a good team this year.
13-3-3 is what you went that year. Ooh. And you were fresh off of a Christmas Day matchup with the Dallas Cowboys where you picked up a dub.
Love it.
And I think, just 3 days prior to this, you lost in the playoffs to the Ravens.
Oh, that did go too good, this spot right here. Oh, this is part of our 2.5 minute extravaganza, Conway. What are we doing?
I don't know, dude. Chris Benoit, man, he's going to be the world champ in 6 days, but right now he's got to call it right down the middle with you and Tito.
Let me ask you, in this episode, was it already booked, him and Sid? So he was the challenger going into the pay-per-view, and it's already advertised. Yeah, I'm sure it was. It's 6 days out. Was Sid on this program? Have we seen Sid?
No. Oh, he may have been out in a shirt in the very beginning.
Okay. Uh-oh. The hell? Boom. Now we're getting into a little ping pong. He's going to hit me with the flying taco. Uh-oh. Big Washington's getting up there. You're not giving us play-by-play, Conrad.
Well, they're watching along with us. Oh, how about an Orndorff pile driver?
Yep.
Is this your first time taking an Orndorff pile driver?
Got him spinning around. Yes. He still can do that at that time, couldn't he?
It looked awesome too, didn't it?
Yes, it did. I saw
it is crazy to think, but I think this is, I mean, according to Cage Match, this is the only time you ever wrestled Tito. Y'all never crossed paths on an indie at all.
Never. Yes, correct. And I think George too. And there's my man Tank Abbott. Lord have mercy. What a nice.
I just find it interesting that so many of those guys you never wrestled against.
Yeah. George, Tito, I don't think in Snuka.
George feels like from a generation before, but Tito feels like he would have been there right after you. So if it didn't happen in the WWF, maybe on the indies somewhere, but it didn't. And even Paul Orndorff, never on the indies or anything. I sort of associate Tito, I think, with your generation more than I do.
Oh,
like
gotcha.
You're a star. And it's just crazy to think, you know.
I don't. And if you look at that little billboard, Thunder was moving to Wednesdays. I'd forgot about that. In my mind, it was always Thursdays, but the little Chiron said, new time, new day. Interesting.
I mean, what are we doing with Tank Abbott attacking Doug Dillinger? Is Doug going to have a no holds barred match?
Yep. Story. Oh, Lord, Conrad.
It's crazy, isn't it, dude?
Who you got winning it all in college football?
We don't talk about college football in this program, Jeff. It's been well established. We know that.
You're right. My bad. Totally my bad.
Chris Benoit was substituting for Bret the Hitman Hart against Sid Vicious. You know, because we've seen him walking around with this. Bret Hart's the world champion.
And they had to crown a new one.
He's supposed to wrestle Sid Vicious, but he can't wrestle, so they have Chris Benoit go in.
And the kick, the mule kick that ended Bret's career had taken place just a couple of days before this, right?
Yeah, Starrcade 1999.
Wow. This is a unique time from a historical perspective. I get beat 3 times in one night.
I mean, but now we got a Tank Abbott promo where he's talking about Doug Dillinger.
Oh my gosh.
And he's saying quack, quack and calling him Duck Man. And I don't even know what we're doing. Like, this is the go home for a pay-per-view. And to me, when I look back at this, all I can think is, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but when I'm watching this back with you today, all I'm thinking is they were dead and didn't even know it.
There you go.
Like, you're dead, but you don't know you're dead. You can't fix it, but you don't know that at the time. You're still going out and putting on a brave face. Maybe some of you know, but nobody's saying the quiet part out loud. And if they are, not to the right set of ears, you're dead and you don't even know it.
So Conrad, help me out. This is January of 2000, right?
Yep.
So a year and 3 months later, it died.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
14 months and change later.
Yep.
But at this point, like, it's hard to
a 3.8 and a 2.8. So a 3.4 rating. Or yeah. I saw a crowd clip just a few minutes ago. They were dead. Nobody was moving.
They came to see a wrestling show and this guy's talking.
Yes. The entire time. Oh.
It is a poorly done community theater. What was that?
Oh, Tank.
That guy went to the David Flair School of Selling. You know, this is the same year, of course, as a reminder, a week prior, David Flair became a tag team champion. And it's written in the Observer that, that destroyed the legitimacy of the belts, which makes me laugh. Because it's like David Flair was a U.S. champion the prior July of 99. He's the U.S. champ. So I don't know that the tag belts were more important than the U.S. title, but whatever. 3 months after this is when David Arquette would win the WCW world title.
Oh my gosh. Here I go. Little did I know I was about to walk to the ring and have definitely worst injury in my career. What's Double A doing back here at another limo shot?
He's welcoming Jimmy Superfly Snuka before we go to the break. So that's a nice way to use a legend before the break to get you to hang on. I actually like that. Jimmy Snuka, whose birthday is May 18th, 1943. So he's 56 years old here, Jeff.
Okay. Interesting.
You guys are going to wrestle 3 minutes and 19 seconds.
Now, why is Bret and Kevin? What's advertised on this episode?
Bret and Kevin are supposed to wrestle each other.
Okay. And Benoit just got laid out as we see him in the back down selling.
Yep.
Who supposedly did this dastardly deed?
We're going to find out, aren't we?
I guess so. Is this the cage match, the one we've all been waiting for? I believe so.
So when you find out, like, are you told of this a week out, 2 weeks out?
Oh, no. Maybe a few days, tops. And I was just like, okay, I get the cameos by everybody, but putting 3 different guys over.
Hang on. Let me set the scene here. It's early 2000. So Christmas is in the rear view. New Year's is in the rear view. We just left the Bilo Center. David Flair, thank the Lord. He's our tag team champion, along with Crowbar. And now they're thinking, what are we going to do up in Buffalo? Who calls you? I assume it's a call because I don't think text messages are really a thing. I don't know how prevalent email was back then.
No, it was
on the phone.
A Russo or Ferrara call. My gut tells me Russo.
And how does he warm you up to this idea? How does he go? What does that? I'm not saying this to be funny. I'm asking genuinely, sincerely. How would a conversation like that sound? I'm not asking you to do a Russo impression. How would he pitch you on this idea?
Hey, bud, this is what we got lined up. We're trying to tell this story with and I didn't even know it till this episode or remember it, the old Age Outlaws. We're going to have that kind of confrontation, the NWO versus the establishment, whatever, however he described that to me. And we want to, entertain the people all night. We're going to have these legends. And of course, you're the guy to do it. All right, what are we going to do in each of these finishes? Because for advertising matches and going to have all these guys in their element, like, what are we doing? He said, oh, we'll have Benoit as the ref or however it laid out, and we've got those other guys to cause the distraction. Vince, I don't know if that's really good, but okay, I see where you're going with it. That's the general kind of gist of it. As I'm watching this back, the lowering of the cage, and to me, the cage stipulation, the look of it, this also kind of neutered it because we didn't show it. We didn't make the cage this big threat. Again, it's going to go into, okay, maybe in Vince's mind, if Snuka's in a cage, he has to drop off the top of it. And that's what they got out of this. How long is this whole match, Conrad? Does it say?
3 minutes and change.
So all 3 legends, I'm under 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, you were 3.5 minutes, and this is 3:19. So 7-minute double J. He can get the job done.
Under 10 minutes against 3 legends.
You need me to lose 3 matches in 7 minutes? No problem. I'm the ultimate professional.
Here comes Benoit. He's pissed off. And I just wonder if
I guess the question is, do you not remember beating him up?
No, I don't. And the quarter hours here, which is interesting. Wonder how they did. I wonder if George the Animal was a better quarter hour than Tito. I'm joking.
Will you stop? What's wrong with you?
I wonder if we're going to be able to do this in slow motion, because I've watched this back on our pod or some way, somehow. But Conrad, I'm not kidding you. I never took into account the possibility of this kind of injury. Never. That's dumb on me. Shame on me.
I don't even think that, because who would have how could you guess that?
Well, yeah. In my mind, I can protect myself. I can do this. I can do that. So now here comes Chris going up top.
By the way, the matches on the show, Crowbar and David Flair over Dean Malenko and Perry Saturn, 4 minutes and 37 seconds. George Steele and Jeff Jarrett, 1:13. Tito Santana and Jeff Jarrett, 2:24. Jimmy Snuka and Jeff Jarrett, 3:20. And then Bret Hart and Kevin Nash go 10:54. That's all your wrestling minutes.
Whew. And I'm in 3, which were quick ones. Mm-hmm. And like you said,
you had about 23 minutes of wrestling.
Wow. Here come the old Age Outlaws still kicking my ass.
You know, for you to be the chosen one, they sure are putting your ass through the ringer here.
Oh, I was the chosen one. I got chose to do 3 jobs. Get my ass beat all over the ring. And here we go. You talk about getting your bell rung.
You know, we're not supposed to do it, but I know we can't do it for more than 7 seconds. But as Snuka is making his way to the top, the whole crowd's on their feet. People are losing their mind. He's facing the wrong way. Now he's got to turn around.
Yep. And Benoit's going to do it.
Benoit's on the other side. Wow, what a visual. Benoit on one end, Snuka on the other. Let's track it.
He splashed him with the top of the cage. Now it's Benoit's turn.
So we get a superfly, Snuka splash, and we get a diving headbutt, both off the top of the cage. Snuka hooks the leg, and Benoit counts 3 immediately after the diving headbutt. And all I could think about because I kind of forgot Benoit did that.
Hey,
he's coming off
immediately, but go ahead.
You what?
We jumped off the shot immediately. 1, 2, 3, boom, you're out.
That's what's happened every match. I don't know if you've noticed that, but it doesn't matter what's back there. It immediately crashes to the backstage area. That is a Vince Russoism.
Yeah.
Like that is a best practice for him. And I can't argue. Hey, if you're trying to keep them watching, like Crash TV clearly works. Like, hey, we need to create some movement. But after you just took both of those big bumps, they show you on camera not at all. So, you know, there's a lot of talk in wrestling today about, oh, nobody sells anything. WCW in 2000 didn't care. They didn't want you to sell anything.
Yeah.
Take it, and then we're moving.
And then we're moving on.
Well, knowing what we know now, you're standing. I mean, I'm not trying to be ugly, but you're standing, laying, prone, waiting on 2 murderers to take turns jumping off on top of you. And at the time, I would think, man, I don't know if that's good for Benoit to be doing the diving headbutt. It would never even cross my mind that the guy who's laying still, taking the bump, he gets a terrible concussion too. Take us back to that night, Jeff.
Conrad, like I said, we've been laughing and cutting up on this. I just never, because you know, I knew, okay, Jimmy's jumping off. I need to brace myself and prepare myself, but I am going to be laying right for him. If I need to scoot over and he's like, no, brother, I'll get you. I'll make sure you're close enough in. And so when I looked up at a comfort level that, you know, he's jumping up and all that. And so if you look back, you know, I came on up, you know, my head was well off the ground, but you just don't really think about a 260, 70-pound guy, literally like a bag of concrete. It doesn't matter how strong I was. The whiplash in my head smacking the back of the mat. And, you know, it took me a while going to Dr. Tim and the diagnosis, and he was checking me out, my neck on all the way around, just how horrible case of whiplash on top of a concussion. But that night when it happened, Conrad, I knew immediately, like, holy crap. But I didn't think it was that bad until I got to the back and I'm trying to undress, and Slick Johnson was in there. He said, "You all right?" I said, "Hey man, is there any way you can turn those lights off?" Because the light in the room felt like it was so bright. And, you know, Benoit knew how to throw that headbutt. He, not just that night, he always hurt himself more than he did his opponents. His body took years of pounding. But, you know, it's one of those things. I didn't give it a second thought. We're going to go do this 3-minute match, 3-minute match, 3-minute match, and tell the story. And that's what they want. And I'm going to work hard and make the best of the situation. Little did I know that was the worst injury of my career by far when I really look at it, because my bell was wrong, and it was quite some time before I was right after that.
What's it like having a concussion like that, Jeff?
You don't want to see bright light. Your head is pounding. And a lot of times, I described it back then, because once I got into a cadence of going to Dr. Tim, because when I came home, I cannot even believe I flew home, because the next day after Buffalo, we did an Erie Thunder taping, and my bell was rung, and I think maybe all I had was an in-ring. I knew I couldn't work, and then I flew home the next day. And when I got home, I immediately went to Tim, and he's like, "Man, you've got serious swelling in my head. It's like a headache on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm sure I would have told him, like, it's way past 10, and my head just throbbing. And so it was, we got to get as much inflammation out of that as possibly can. I didn't want to have any bright light. I came right home, and it's in this house, but there's a bedroom downstairs that has no windows. It's kind of, at the time, it was kind of like storage, but anyway, it's a small bedroom. I went in there because there was no lights in it. Literally no daylight could get in. So shut the door in there, and I just tried to lay in there and, put, what do you call that? Anyway, I put a roll under my back of my neck to try to slowly stretch it out. But the main thing was getting the inflammation out. And it took about 3 days, maybe 2 days, two or 3 days, to kind of get the inflammation out. And then once that out, I was on to my road to recovery. But as long as, they say your brain fits in your skull, and you've got a scale of about you can put it on a 1 to 10 on how much room you have in there. But when your brain is rattled and the fluid swells up, that's what hurts. You have basically all the pressure on your brain, and your brain can rattle around in that in your skull, and you don't have much wiggle room, and you want to get all that swelling out. Conrad, that thing hurt bad. I'm just sitting here thinking about how uncomfortable it was, pounding headache, and I could, because I had, like I said, not only, and that was explained to me that some people can have concussion without whiplash. Have you ever had whiplash, Conrad? Like been rear-ended? Okay, whiplash is a mother too, man. That thing, it hurts. It's just so, I don't say hurt. It's just so uncomfortable, because it's all your neck flexors are just super strained. And so I couldn't look up, down, left, right, back. Everything was whiplash and a concussion. I was a mess for a while, but the first probably 48, 72 hours were the ones that were almost unbearable.
Man, what a crazy time in WCW this is too. I mean, even in the main event, Bret Hart is out here wrestling against Kevin Nash. He's got on cargo jean shorts and a cutoff NWO t-shirt, like knee-high socks and basketball tennis shoes, like Nikes, with some wrist tape and elbow pads. This is not this looks like when Bret Hart came back 10 years later in 2010. It does not look like the Bret Hart we grew up on.
In storyline purposes, this is NWO versus NWO.
Yeah, they don't want to wrestle each other. Terry Funk made them.
Okay. And
Steiner would love to help, but he's been having sex with all those freaks. He didn't have time for this,
I saw him tied up in the back, so he's
fornicating. He's busy.
Yeah. So this is 2000. When did Diesel and Bret wrestle each other? 94?
95 Survivor Series. It was awesome.
Yeah, that one. So we're 5 years removed from that, and now we're in this mess. What are we doing? But at least Charles Robinson's in there, and his hair looks good, and he's doing his thing.
He's got Nicole Eggert's hair right there. I mean, he's ready for Baywatch. You get that dude in red buoy, and he's good to go.
You're ready to rock and roll. Oh, mercy, mercy, mercy.
This is the last Nitro that Russo was going to produce before being sent home. So
What?
Yeah, we just talked about they all quit. Remember?
Oh, but I didn't know that was.
Yeah, the Radicals quit, cuz. Come on now, keep up. That's when they got Kevin Sullivan back in because they sent Russo home, and it's this show that does it.
Okay, I wasn't aware that the Legends led to his demise. So Kevin Sullivan is producing the pay-per-view.
Yeah, when he's put back into power at the pay-per-view and he's back and Russo's out, all those Radical guys get pretty spooked. They're unhappy, thinking about leaving. He's trying to, Kevin Sullivan, as the story goes, was trying to prove, hey, there's nothing to worry about. It's water under the bridge. I'm here to do a job. I need a job. You need a job. My job's to book wrestling matches. Your job's to go have good matches. Tell you what, I'll put you in there in Bret Hart's spot. He's hurt and he can't wrestle. So we'll just let you win the damn world title tonight. And he did. And Chris quit the next day.
And Russo's gone or on the shelf again. And Eric.
Russo, this is Russo's last Nitro.
Holy smokes.
By Sunday, Bret's no longer able to wrestle, and he's out. Kevin Sullivan is in, and he says, Benoit, you're up. That all happens this same calendar week. I mean, just a monumental week.
And by April, Eric and Vince come back.
Yes, they reset everything in 4 months.
I was going to say, good God.
They take the belts off everybody, have all new champions, just hit the hard reset button. But first, let's let David Arquette win the world title.
You said it, dead man walking.
Oh, they're dead. They don't even know it.
Yeah.
Because at this point, they think, all right, well, we need more Crash TVs. We need more ladies. We need more WWE. Okay, that's not working. Let's send Russo home. Okay. So we send Russo home. Then we bring Sullivan back. Then our top stars that we were trying to make for our next crop of big stars, they quit. They walk out. Okay.
Let me ask you, this takes in a lot of ground, but in your fandom, would you say this is the worst era of professional wrestling creative?
I wasn't watching. I was checked out.
Yeah. Okay.
By January of 2000, I would watch ECW occasionally. I'd read what happened online for Nitro, and I'd tape Raw, and I'd fast forward and find stuff I liked. But wrestling had jumped the shark for me by 2000. And I know the peak for everybody financially was like 02, not 02, but 01. That's what I hear. Oh, everybody's making more money than ever. I hear that all the time in 2000 or 2001. But as a fan, creatively, I did not enjoy wrestling in 2000 or 2001.
Yeah.
I watched it, but 99 is kind of the end of I was having the most fun watching wrestling.
Yeah. And, oh, wow. So, yeah. Okay.
I assume WCW in this era was going back to like 1993, 94, 95 creative. And it just, I know they had big stars, but it just wasn't, I didn't dig it. But I also didn't like what they had been doing on the WWF side of things.
Well, see, and I think WWF, and that's where I was, when I just kind of stammered around, when did WWF programming, I'll call it stale. I don't say jump the shark, but they kind of fell off.
Hogan, when Hogan went down, I mean, they tried, obviously 84 is a big year, 85 is bigger, 86 is bigger, 87 is monumental because of 3. They ride that out for 88, 89 hits a new peak because of pay-per-view with WrestleMania 5. But I think Vince was thinking, hey, I got to give them something new before we start to cool off. So he tried to give them Warrior in 90, and it didn't work. It died. So WrestleMania 6, you can go back and look at receipts and stuff, and you'll see that some of the houses started to taper in 90. And they tried to get it back in 91, but it was a desperation ploy because of the Gulf War, and that was a miss. So then they bring Flair in, and 92 is regarded as being the greatest Royal Rumble, but nobody talks about WrestleMania 8 that way. And by 9, it's just off the rails bad. And I don't think it was good again until late 96. And by then, the NWO was hot, and so it was still losing money. 97 was really good creatively, but it still wasn't the boom. 98 is when it just all changes. January 98 with Mike Tyson is when the tide starts to turn. And then, of course, in April, Raw wins and they never look back.
But where I was going with it, when did it taper down from there? Because I feel like
when Austin turned heel at 2001 WrestleMania.
Okay,
and
so
you can 90 days after that, the company's different.
Yeah, that's what I thought. 2001, they took a downward, not financially maybe, but yeah.
So we know that Bret's got a terrible concussion. So one of the things we're going to do, besides having him in a hardcore match with Terry Funk, besides having him wrestle a kickboxer, we're going to have Sid Vicious kick a chair into his head.
And lower the cage at this time, which is, my goodness.
Why not? Since you got a concussion, how about a choke slam?
Boom.
Like, the reality is, we didn't know then what we know now about head injuries, and we all talk about this. But I just want to remind everybody, Bret Hart's been dealing with this for weeks and still wrestling. And the next day, after Jeff Jarrett got this terrible concussion that he said was worse than a 10, the very next day he goes to Thunder, and in the main event, he's tagging with Kevin Nash to take on Sid Vicious and Chris Benoit. And then there was a house show 3 days later in Charleston, West Virginia. Bret's not on it, and Randy Savage is substituting for him against Sid Vicious, and you're not on it. Rick Steiner is in for you against Chris Benoit. And then you're at the pay-per-view. Now, Bret's not there, but goodness gracious, the story being that both of you guys have head injuries and you're immediately working.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's such a trend in that kind of way, a crazy transition. And look, to have Funk basically, what would you say? He was in 5 or 6 segments.
Well, and walking through the crowd with a lit. I mean, I know it's a gimmick. And I mean, I know Kevin Nash has taken precautions on his stomach, but just the idea that not Kevin Nash, but Terry Funk is walking through a crowd with a flaming branding iron. Like if a kid throws a poster at Terry Funk right then, what happens?
It was a different time. Gosh almighty. It was right in black and white for us today, Connie. Amazing.
It's just it's really interesting to go back and take a look, given what we're seeing in wrestling right now, to go back 25 years ago and see how different it was. The good, the bad, the different, the ugly. But I know people, and I'm guilty of this. I like the way wrestling used to be more than I like wrestling today. I'm nostalgic about wrestling. But I take a look at what we just watched, and I'm thinking, you know, it ain't all bad. I'm looking forward to watching AEW tomorrow night. Tickets are on sale now. I'm going to be there, and I've confirmed since I've been recording, Casio Kid's riding with me too. So we're going to have some fun, Clarksville.
Right on. Come on, my man.
I can't wait to see you put on a show in catering.
No, I don't know about that. I gotta pick my spots when I eat now. So,
oh yeah, who's actually kicking this Wednesday? Do you know yet? Can you tell us? To the secret?
No idea. I'm hoping my number is called and I'm in the Casino Gauntlet.
Well, I think you're going to be in the Gauntlet, but I'm wondering, are you targeting anyone in particular?
Oh no, I just want the W. That's what it's about. Getting a dub.
Speaking of dubs, you know, I know we don't normally talk about football here on the program, but
nope.
We got absolutely roasted in the last couple of weeks because we didn't have enough football talk. And I thought that was weird because we never do it.
Never.
But just like when you win the world title at whatever the next AEW pay-per-view is, because I know it won't be long.
Yep.
But when you close out the show and all the ticker tape and confetti is falling and you're holding that world title and Cody's there and Karen's there and the whole family hugs, I'm really looking forward to that. And I can only imagine that we would never go on this program the next week and brag and say, we told you so. Because that's not what we do.
Absolutely not.
I mean, people talk about you and I don't know if you know this or not, but they call us Humble Jones.
Yeah.
Because we don't ever toot our own horn. First of all, I can't. I know Lanny could, but I cannot toot my own horn. But I can toot yours. Wait, that doesn't mean, no, I'm not tooting your horn. Hang on. That came out wrong. But what I was getting to is I just want to give you some props and just service those handful of listeners who care about this sort of thing.
Okay.
And announce in a loud and clear voice that you are not only the world's greatest singer, the world's greatest wrestler,
Yeah.
the world's greatest entertainer,
Yeah.
the king of the mountain,
Yeah.
a 12-time world champion,
Yeah.
a WWE Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You're all of those things, but you're also, once again, back to back to back. It's a three-peat.
Oh, no.
The TNA Fantasy Football Champion. Ladies and gentlemen, there's the graphic. And we see all the heads of all the losers through the years, including this season. And nothing happening, Rudy Charles. And nothing happening, Eric. Wait, who is that in the bottom right? Is that? Oh, my God. Not only did you beat Abyss, but you beat Joe Burrow clean in the middle. Old Johnny Clipboard.
Oh, man.
Clipboard Joey. You did it again, Jeff. I'm really proud of you. King of the Mountain once again.
Conrad,
Three-peat.
If you don't,
Downs.
well, that's what we do. You're from Alabama, I'm from Tennessee, so it's not in our nature whatsoever. I've just got to give, I personally want to thank Joe Park.
Yeah.
He has incentivized me this year. He's given me something to drive for. This I'm just overwhelmed, Conrad.
He's your enhancement talent. Let's just call it like it is. He made you look good.
Yes, he did.
He did the honors, and just like you asked him to do 1,000 times in the impact zone.
Yeah.
Abyss, if it's not too much trouble, could you count the lights for me and just give me an inventory? Do we have any blown bulbs?
Oh,
if you could just lay flat and just look straight up.
I'm overwhelmed with emotion. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity today to just say thank you. I mean,
that's what I do.
Back-to-back championships. It happens year after year, and it's something that I shouldn't brag about. I shouldn't boast about. The team that was masterminded, put together by myself. I'd like to say it's luck. What I said earlier today in the promo, the definition of luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So I was prepared this year, fought hard, really stayed on top of the waiver wire, really just outthought those gentlemen that were, so they term me lightly, Danny Engler, Jeremy Fritz.
I mean, you said it in your very first promo in wrestling. I'm going to have to outthink them all. And you did.
Yeah.
One by one, they all fell by the wayside, and you're victorious once again for the third year in a row in the TNA Fantasy Football Championship.
Yep. I humbly accept this honor.
I have it on good authority that just like WWE recently brought back the Winged Eagle Championship.
Yeah.
We are going to start selling Abyss replica fantasy football trophies.
Oh, goodness.
So it's got him in the Abyss mask. It's kind of a bronze deal, but there's a guitar shattered all around his head.
Wonderful.
And it just says at the bottom, again.
Oh.
And then you can add the years for all the years that you've beat him over and over and over and over.
18 years.
Running.
He's put together 18
mediocre.
You're being
middle of the road.
You're being kind, but that's okay. But 18, I just call it consecutive seasons. God bless him.
Enhancement talent. I mean,
but good. Now look, everybody has a position in our league.
That's right. That's right.
I am not downplaying his ability whatsoever, because for me to rack up all the wins, somebody has to get beat. Whew, Conrad, I am overwhelmed that you gave me this opportunity today. So
I for one, am really thankful that we had the opportunity to service that really small section of the audience that really cares about fantasy football, but knows, sure as me and you are sitting here, we're going to do nothing but tell the truth.
Yep.
Be honest. Be forthright. Be transparent.
Yep.
That's what we do. And you dominated Abyss again. I mean, do you think you'll even continue it next year, or is it time that you took your?
Every year I reevaluate, just like I do my contract. Like what's the future look like? So I like to give opportunities to other guys and see if they can't climb the mountain. He didn't do it again this year, but I feel like one of these years he's going to slip on a banana peel and get his hand raised. Just didn't happen this year.
He's waiting on his Brooklyn Brawler moment.
That's it.
He's waiting on his Barry Horowitz moment.
Stretcher Jack Hart.
Maybe what we'll get. Here's what we'll do. We'll go to his Men's Warehouse in his local community, and we'll see if we can get like a bedazzled handprint on his back right here.
Beautiful.
And so if and when he wins, well, I don't know when that'll happen. We'll put it on layaway. We'll figure it out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for a fun episode today. I feel like Jeff and I both suffered a couple of concussions just watching that show today, but we'll be back next week talking about Final Resolution 2005. It went down 20 years ago. And this is when TNA is building you up to defend the TNA title against the winner of a three-way dance between Diamond Dallas Page, Monty Brown, and Kevin Nash. We're also going to be moving on from the Kings of Wrestling. Roddy Piper is going to be your referee for Jeff Hardy versus Scott Hall. We've got the Ultimate X match with AJ Styles. We've got Chris Sabin and Petey Williams and more. All that coming up next week here on the program. In the meantime, if you just can't get enough Double J, your home for all things Double J is myworldpod.com. That's myworldpod.com. Be sure to go right now, hit the subscribe button, and turn on your notifications bell. Also want to mention you can follow us and keep up with us on social media. Jeff is at Real Jeff Jarrett on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The show is at MyWorldPod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And the easiest place to advertise to get the word out about your business is with advertisewithjarrett.com. You've heard us talk about some of the same sponsors week in, week out for years. And the reason we do that is because it really works. We'd love to talk about your business right here on our show at advertisewithjarrett.com. Jeff, this is a big Wednesday. You know, King Omega's back. He's in Clarksville, maybe the biggest wrestling show in the history of Clarksville. And it's a drive for you. No airplanes. You pumped?
I love it. The month of January is going to be kind to me. We've got Knoxville. We've got coming down to your neck of the woods, Huntsville. We've got Athens, Georgia. We've got Atlanta.
Clarksville. It's all local.
Excited for the month of January in more ways than one. So, yeah, pal, I've enjoyed this episode. My head hurts.
My head hurts too. And, well, it could be worse. Well, I'll just stop myself right there. And we'll see you guys next week right here on My World.
Peace.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-free shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. adfreeshows.com.